All right, Maryann, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. So, for those of you who have not met Maryann Reid, she is an award-winning author and social commentator. She's been featured by countless media outlets, including USA Today, Essence, Glamour, the CBS Early Show, and the Wendy Williams Experience. She's been profiled in The New Yorker, Newsweek, Oprah.com, and NBC Nightly News for her innovative approach to life and solving its complex issues. She's become an absolute pro at getting massive media exposure for her books, and she coaches other authors on how to get more attention and publicity. So, Maryann, I know you've got an incredible bio, and you've really just become a pro at marketing your books and yourself through the media. So, I'm wondering if you can take us back to when you first got started writing your first book and how that experience played out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got published, I was published by St. Martin's Press, a major publisher, and I was under the impression that they were going to handle all the marketing and publicity for me. So that experience for me was very difficult. So I think that first book, I'm almost sure, taught me the importance of marketing and learning how to market your work beyond the traditional book signings, beyond traditional social media. So my first book, though, it was a major publisher. I got handed an advance. It was credible. It was lovely. It was, a great experience for a first-time author. At the same time, it was difficult because I sort of was left with this big thing to carry, and I had to learn by making mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that's how we all learn. So
Yeah.
take us there then. I mean, you talk about the publisher, not doing the work for you, not doing a lot of the marketing work for you. So, I mean, what was that like? I mean, did you have different expectations going into it than the actual experience, the way it worked out?
Yeah, and I think it was just part of the fact that I worked for a publisher. I worked for Penguin Putnam. I worked in the publicity department, and I saw so much work that we did for authors. So I figured, okay, this is my first book deal. I'm going to get all this stuff too. But what I learned is that's not how it works. And they're doing a big deal by investing in me financially, that the least I could do is to market my work. And I was 25 at that time. I didn't know how to market any kind of book. I thought they would handle everything. I'm being naive, and my first time in the business. On the other side of the business, it took me a while to, after the initial first months of the launch, it took me a while to keep the momentum of my book. So I had to actually take it upon myself to do book signings. And with the support of the publisher, because they have contacts that I could use, and I also had to take it upon myself to do my website. And this was back in like 2002, so you could just imagine what a website looks like then compared to now. But I learned all the early parts of digital marketing really fast. So I have to thank them actually for that experience, because I actually learned digital marketing and just traditional marketing tactics, especially publicity, just by publicizing my own work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, your attitude about that. You have to thank them for that. And that's so true. I think, when you look at anyone who's an expert in their field, whether they're an author, a marketer, or, an athlete, it's going through those challenging times, those struggles where you force yourself to have to learn to get better. That's when you do get better and you get those huge leaps in progress and productivity.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've been able to build a very successful business teaching other authors how to market their books. So I'm very grateful for that experience.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. So, let's talk about that then now. I mean, today, if you're launching a book in 2015, 2016, what would you be doing, maybe even before the book is even released, to get your marketing engine rolling?
Okay, so this is what I advise my clients and anyone who's listening. Do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is going on social media. They're tweeting and Facebooking and LinkedIn and Instagramming everything. Do the opposite. Focus on traditional media. Contact your local radio, your local TV, your local, what's the other thing? Newspapers, print. And start there. Get in those outlets. Get in front of people's faces where they can touch you with their fingers and flip the page and listen to you, and just you, where you have their undivided attention. And that's the value of traditional media. So I advise everyone to just back away from the computer and start getting to know your local media. And then from there, your very first local media hit will help you get national media.
Mm-hmm. So you mean we have to pick up the phone and call someone?
Yes. Yes, you actually have to get out the house and get off the computer and actually look people in the eye. Stuff like that. Yeah.
So how do you do that though? I mean, you know, starting out, I know nothing. Let's just say, you know, I'm a new author. I know nothing about, you know, radio or TV or newspapers. You know, how do you even go about, like, who do you call? How do you do your research?
Well, that's a great question. And I get that. And I think what I tell everyone is that one way to use your computer and online resources is, instead of spending the time on social media, spend it researching. Find out who the editors are at the local daily, or find out who the producers are of your local radio programs. Find out who is your local news anchor. You know, every news broadcast, especially those in smaller towns, have these segments where they focus on local people doing phenomenal things. So doing the research on Google, you can find media lists. There are websites like mediabistro.com you can use, where for a small, you know, like, I don't know, what is it, like $50 for the year or even less, you can get the names of editors, their email addresses. You can get addresses to mail people, you know, media contact people information. You can find out who the latest issue of a magazine, who's the editor there for this particular section. Let's say you have a book that's sports related or health related. You can find out who the health editor is, stuff like that. So it's very easy these days to go online and do the research and get yourself booked.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, you know, we've had a couple, you know, guests on the show so far, you know, publicists and PR folks, you know, on the other side of the coin, and they talk about, you know, getting your press kit ready and all that stuff. How do you do that? I mean, do you even have a press kit? Like, what is your process actually go? What does it actually look like when you call up the local editor or producer?
Well, I definitely have a voice, and I think that's important. You need to have like a sort of angle. What's your, you know, elevator speech? What is your one-liner? How do you differentiate yourself from other writers, other authors? What is your brand? So before any one of my clients, you know, sends out a press release or puts together a media contact sheet or talking points for a radio interview, I ask them, you know, what makes you different? What is your voice? What are the issues that you care about? And when I have that conversation with them, I find out that, oh, you know, this is what they are. They're like, you know, he's like a Stephen King / such and such, or he's, you know, just a way to label yourself to make yourself stand out. So you have to call yourself something. You have to be an expert at something. So if your book is health related, what is it? Weight loss? Is it, you know, motivational? Is it, you know, about, you know, other parts of health, whether it's alternative, you know, medicine? What are you an expert in? And once you find your voice and your angle, then you can start looking for the contacts. Then you can start putting together your press release. Then you can start really standing out in front of people.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. That definitely makes sense. So you're talking about, you know, finding your brand, finding your, you know, almost like your passion or your purpose. Like, why are you even want to do this in the first place? What is the message that you have, and what is different about you and that message from what else people might be seeing out there on the radio and newspapers and so forth?
Absolutely. And then when I ask my clients exactly what you just said, they say, I want to help people. I want to make a difference. And that's still very general. You need to really get down to it. What is your niche? What problem are you solving? And this question is a major question when it comes to like tech startups and stuff. You know, they provide solutions to common everyday problems. So as an author, what problem are you solving for your demographic? Whether it's, teenage boys, teenage girls, or women over 35, or, divorced men? Who are you talking to? What makes them want to listen?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That totally makes sense. So what does this process actually look like? How many times do you have to call, your local producer, editor, even to find the right person, or to even, get yourself in the story in the paper or radio or TV, or get booked? How many calls does it take? How much persistence does it take? What does that process look like?
Well, it normally takes about 2 phone calls or 2 emails. I think there should be an initial email that's like a warmer. That's a very short, brief email. Hey, do you have any needs at this time that I can help out with? Please keep my information for future bookings or as a potential guest for an upcoming show. Something very generic, and then follow up again with something more specific. Hey, my book just published this month. I could talk about these 5 things. Bullet points, nice and short. And that's your second email. Then after that, you'll want to see if you're getting any reply, if you need a third one. But I usually like to use, I don't know if you're familiar with Gmail, has a boomerang feature where you can actually schedule your messages. So maybe set it up where you send out an initial email and then send another email 2 to 3 weeks later. And that's your second email. And perhaps depending on the response, you want to have a third email as a follow-up, follow-through. And then maybe 3 months down the line, you want to do a little pop-in email like, hey, just checking in, I'm still available for interviews. Done. So less is more, not sending huge, long press releases and paragraphs about your bio and photo attachments or anything like that. Less is more. So we're talking about emails. Do you need to call them after the email? Not particularly, but if it's someone that's replied back to you, I would definitely pick up the phone as a follow-up. And I would also use fax machines. I know people will be rolling their eyes right now, but fax machines, if you meet a media contact person that actually has a fax on their business card, or you find them on a media list and it says, please fax information, do that, because hardly anyone is using that fax machine anymore. So when your stuff comes through, everybody's going to rush to it like, oh, what's this? And oh, it's this author. Okay, great. Rather than being in an email inbox with like 500 other people.
Right, totally. That's awesome. It's like so counterintuitive, right? Because you're like, man, faxes are dead. Like we should never use them. But
right,
by virtue of them not being used, it's like a scarce resource. And so as soon as it comes up, it's something new, something different. And like you said, you can't ignore it. Not like an email, you can get lost in different folders and so forth. People might not even see it, but they're definitely gonna see that fax, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
So I think authors should definitely take advantage of some traditional methods and make it work for them. You can mix traditional with the brief attitude that there is today. With Twitter, it's like only 140 characters, really quick text. So you can mix the brevity and tradition, and you can just bring them together by using traditional techniques, but keeping it short and sweet.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you've got this awesome system for reaching out to media people, following up with them consistently. How many people do you send that out to? I mean, do you have hundreds of people, thousands of people? How much do you actually work at, for yourself and for your clients when you're doing a book launch?
Okay, so one thing I do is I teach my clients how to do it for themselves. So I'm not a publicist, so I don't send the stuff out for them. So I actually help them create the list. I actually help them write the materials, the emails. I actually help them develop a voice and a message that they want to communicate with the media. So I'm actually like that go-between person. So I save them from spending thousands of dollars on a publicist. So what I do is I actually advise my clients to come up with a list of 25 contacts, whether it's a combo of print, TV, and radio, or just TV. Just limit it to 25. It's easier for you to follow up with, and it'll help you prune it. It'll help you really focus in on your niche and who's really important. So just focus on 25. make that phase 1, follow up, check off who's gotten back to you, write dates next to who you need to follow up with, and then start another list of 25 and keep going. I don't think there's a limit, depending, like if you're in a city like New York or, you know, a big like LA, you may have lots of 25 lists. You may have to keep going and going and going. But if you're in a regular sized town, you know, 25 really is like the top 25 media people. There aren't really that many, you know, that really matter. So I think 25 is a great number to start with.
Gotcha. And so you're just starting locally. You're not doing national publications and so forth.
Right, because this is the thing, you know, everybody wants to shoot for, you know, national, but national is always going to ask, have you had anything done locally? And if you say no, then it's like, why would anyone else care if your own local town doesn't care? And if you haven't tried, then it looks like, you know, you're kind of backsliding a little bit. So it's just good to just say, yeah, I was just featured on my local news station last week, and you know, this is a clip, or here's the link to see the video. If you have any, you know, if there's any stories I can help you with, please contact me at this number. And that looks much more appealing than someone coming out the woodwork contacting a Good Morning America producer and no one has ever heard of them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So you're not even providing this information up front, but if they ask for it, then you have it ready at hand.
Yeah, you should. I think I like the idea though of getting the local publicity first and doing, you know, rolling up your sleeves, really trying to get at least one. And then if you're really anxious about going national, just take that first one and use it as a launching pad to, you know, the Today Show, or, you know, the Talk, you know, or something like that, or the USA Today or something like that. So you want to just have a launching pad. It'll build your confidence, and it will also help to give you more credibility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, that's such a great point. You know, that you want to almost work up to it in a way, because you're going to get so much practice, not only from reaching out to people, but from actually doing the shows, the interviews, the articles, and so forth. You know, I mean, think about like the best case scenario is like you get booked on Oprah, the Today Show. You know, like, do you really want that to be your first appearance? I mean, on the one hand, it sounds so awesome. On the other hand, I'd be like so nervous and not know what to do, not even know what to say, right?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because people always skip over the local because they think, oh, if I get on, you know, an Oprah type or a Today Show type thing, I'm going to just knock it out, you know, the box. But really, local helps you define your message. It's a great practicing ground, as you mentioned, and it builds your confidence. Confidence is so important on television, because any type of insecurity comes through in your gestures and the way you speak. And it's really good to just get practice first.
Absolutely. That totally makes sense. Totally. So what does your life look like now then? I mean, you've been doing this media stuff for over a decade now. Is this still something that you're doing? I mean, every week, are you still reaching out to different producers and so forth and doing more outreach? Or is it really something that you only really do when you're launching a new book or a new project?
Well, personally, when I'm not helping my clients publicize or market their books, with my own books, yes. So I'm constantly developing relationships with the media. So whether it's like networking, or what I've been doing lately is actually writing articles. So instead of me saying, hey, you know, look at my new book, or, you know, check this out, I'm actually saying, I have this idea for an essay, or I have this idea for an article. I want to write it. And most of the time I get a yes, or most of the time it's like, tell me more about it. So what I'm doing now is that I'm actually doing more freelance writing, so I can get the bylines in the magazine that actually says, you know, at the end, that says my name, and it also has a link to my website. So that's another way to market your book, by turning yourself into an expert, where you're actually writing for the magazine instead of asking the magazine or the newspaper to write about you. So right now, I'm working on a couple of stories for some nationals at this time that I don't really want to mention, because I'm still cooking some things. But one of them is a national women's magazine with, I think, 2.5 million readers. And I just published a piece for New You magazine, which is a magazine for women over 35. It's health and beauty. And I'm also writing for a major publication in the UAE. It's in the United Arab Emirates. It's published out of Abu Dhabi. So I'm also doing lots of international writing, and I have a column there now, helping professionals in the area with motivation and everything associated with that. So I have an inspirational column in the Middle East that I'm using to launch my own platform and give it more energy, give it more breadth and diversity.
That's awesome. That's a really cool strategy. So, and you're really focusing with your writing then on offline channels more. So you're not doing like Huffington Post and stuff like that, but it's more actual physical magazines and newspapers.
Yeah, I just love that stuff. I love it because I think visually it's more attractive, and I want to have your attention. I'd rather have the attention of 20 people in a room who are going to step out and buy my book than to have 20 million people listen, flick me on for like 10 seconds and like one of them buy my book. So it's really important that I have the person's attention. So I tend to rely on traditional media, but I also write for Lifehack. So if anyone's online, you can just Google my name or go to lifehack.org and you'll see tons of articles there that I write, and several of them have gone viral. And because of that, many people come to my website and they buy my books too.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So I think this has been an awesome interview because you really brought up some kind of counterintuitive ideas for how to be successful. And like you said, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And that's almost always good advice if you can find a way to make it work. It sounds like you've definitely found a way to make it work really, really well for you.
Yeah, I have. Thank you.
Yeah. So any last words of wisdom or advice that you want to leave with our audience?
Yeah, I think instead of spending time, on social media and pushing your book, spend time on clarifying your message. Spend time on developing yourself as an expert in something, and develop some type of system for yourself so that you are developing your brand, you're developing your voice, but at the same time, you have a system that helps you increase your sales and increase your visibility. And oftentimes, you cannot do that alone. You need help.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So before you go, Maryann, tell us where people can find out more about you and the work that you do.
Absolutely. So you can go to booksandbuzz.com. And I'm offering everyone a free 45-minute strategy session with me if you send me an email by going to that site. And we can just chit chat about your book, what you're working on, and answer any type of publishing and publicity questions. And I also want everyone to know that if you need the support, I'm here. Because right now my calendar is pretty packed with clients that I'm coaching, but I also offer six-week programs for those who really want to, have something coming out really soon and need to accelerate their results. And I also offer one-on-one coaching and consultations. So they can just go to booksandbuzz.com to find out more.
Awesome. It's been awesome having you on the show, Maryann. You've just shared a wealth of wisdom, and I really, really appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tom. It was a pleasure. I'd love to come back again.
Absolutely. We'll have you back real soon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.